Welcome to the GSD Factor podcast. I'm your host, Misha Blaymeyer-Farish. It is hard to believe, friends, that we are at the end of season 3. This is the part 2 of our best of episodes, where we have taken our favorite moments throughout the second set of 18 guests, as we have dived into their conversations and their journeys around how they have been powerfully choosing throughout this 2024 year. Be sure to visit our brand new website, gsdfactor.com, where you can take the persona assessment to help you understand what kind of GSDer you are. And be sure to tune back in January for our season 4 of the GSD Factor podcast, where we are going to be tackling the topic of stepping into your extraordinary. Thank you, friends, for listening throughout this season. And don't forget to get shit done.
Is this something that's really a catastrophe, or is it a man-made catastrophe in my own soul? And so that's really not for when you apply that, that's for you. That's not for everybody else, because the whole rest of the world can war, and we see war all over the world and all these things going on. But I have to choose peace in my soul, or I offer nothing valuable to this world.
Part of my recovery is just what I believe about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about myself and what I can do. I told you before we got on this call that I had just come back from chaperoning the high school band trip to Disneyland, and how I gave my son a massive speech at the end of how proud I was of myself for being able to go with him on this trip. He is proud of me. I think he appreciated it too. But, yes, I can't go on big roller coasters. Yes, those signs that warn people, don't go on this roller coaster if those signs are for me. But, he was happy to go on whatever I could go on and run off with friends, and actually some family members who came to visit. So, but, just being able to make a decision to do something like that, it has as much to do with my perception of my wellness as it does with anything else.
I think my piece of advice would be to push through for sure, but allow yourself to take a few moments. And if a few moments is a day where you just want to sit in your room and scream because you're so frustrated, do that. Or you just want to be in your room or your hotel because it's accessible, then do that. And I think we need to give ourselves the grace to say, this is so frustrating. I'm having a hard time, and stop putting on that big front, because it is frustrating. It doesn't mean we can't do it, but we might need to do it a little bit differently.
Being present is allowing yourself to be happy with the point that you're at in your life and to not wish your life away, right? I constantly, all of my life, I said, "Oh, I want to do this and I got to do that." And I'm wishing my life away. And I didn't really appreciate the years that I had when I had them. I look back in pictures and I go, "Oh my gosh, look what I was able to do. Look how I was able to get around so much better," or look, whatever. And I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to wish my life away. I don't want to say, "Oh, that was a great time. I wish I could do that." Or I'm, be sad about the past. I want to be excited about the present or the future, but I also want to be excited about the present. I want to enjoy today and be grateful for my grandson and all the things and the blessings that we all have, right? That's the name of the game.
Like when you wake up in the morning, like start to finish, picture that your legs do not work or that your arms do not work. And I think you'll start realizing, like, okay, a lot of this stuff, would be a big energy suck for someone who, can't make certain things work.
I think it's important to be able to look back and kind of give yourself that grace that, like, you're not always going to hit every single goal. And so the piece there, and the most important takeaway is we just can't give up, and everyone else that is an entrepreneur has been there where they haven't hit revenue goals, and they've maybe hit lofty goal or set lofty goals. And, you're able to kind of be like, maybe that was a little higher than what we should have, done. But yeah, that's kind of where I am. You have to make space for you. Self-care, we talk about self-care is so important for our mental and physical, spiritual beings. But as a solopreneur, you also have to do that self-care at a professional level. And that means networking and building community and hearing from others and being inspired and finding those opportunities.
For me, entrepreneurship is not about following all of the rules or like making the most dials or putting your nose to the grindstone. Even really, it's how can we be our most authentic selves in as many places as possible, as easily as possible, so that the people that we want to attract can find us. And that's really what has helped my business bloom.
For me, that's part of what I learned on how to be a really great strategic guide and a coach. Because the best breakthroughs come through amazing questions. So if I can be more inquisitive about my people, and not only my people, but myself, then I have breakthroughs. They have breakthroughs. The like lights just start popping off everywhere, and the world becomes a little bit better and brighter.
There's much you can do before a crisis happens to anticipate and to plan for those things when stuff happens and you have to respond. And I think that, especially in today's society, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, but that's kind of how I live my life, is there's a lot of people who want to play the victim. And I have refused to do that. It's a choice, and that's something that you have incorporated into your platform. It is a choice to persevere and to rise above and to face whatever crisis presents itself to you.
At the end of the day, we're all just people playing various roles, but there's always a person underneath whatever that role is. And I think if we can get closer to talking to that person and as that person, that's where genuine connection can actually come from. And it just truly catalyzes any sort of action that is going to come from that experience, right? It's like if you can just help people see who you actually are and help them understand that you're not just some expert or you're not just some ambassador that's, running from a script. Like you're a human that joined that organization or started that business for a very valid reason.
Fear will always exist. So now it's brave. I look at myself as being brave, right? So just flip the script on it. But yeah, I mean, I think we as humans, we let fear run our life more than we should. And for me, things that I've done that I've been like super scared of, when I'm like, okay, Brett, are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? We walk through this process in our head. Like, what are the outcomes? Are we going to jump in the deep end? Are we not? And when I think about, like I said, all the great things that I've done have all been on the other side of my comfort zone and where there was something like really scary,
A hard lesson that I learned was every suggestion you get or every piece of advice isn't good for you. So I did a personal project that was really centered around requests that I was getting that didn't really excite me, but seemed like I keep hearing this, so I need to do this. And now being a little bit further along in business, that was somewhat of a waste of time because it wasn't aligned with what I really wanted. So I don't regret doing it by any means, but it just wasn't the best use of my time. It didn't put me in the direction that I wanted to be in. And I think it was because I didn't have that strong muscle to say like, nope, that advice could be very valid for the majority of people, but it doesn't really apply to me for this reason.
Find contentment in the now so that way you can truly enjoy the journey. Because it's going to be more gratifying along the way when you say like, I can't wait to have this particular outcome, but I'm happy right here, right now.
The first thing I would actually start with before you start having those conversations is the same thing I recommended for leaders. What's your why, right? What is your purpose in trying to do that or in trying to do anything at work? And so if you're clear about, again, your purpose for what you're trying to achieve for you as an individual, be a leader or an individual contributor, getting grounded in that has just been shown to have such great effect on your ability to then work with and support others.
You are not in charge of me. I get to choose what I get to wear.
The ripple effect mindset is really about shifting from the way we think what I call a siloed mindset, which is where you're so narrowly focused on your tasks, your goals, your agenda, without thinking about the broader context. And we have to shift to a ripple effect mindset, which is about having a keen awareness that your words, your actions, your decisions have far-reaching consequences beyond what's immediately apparent.
I've done stuff, but I still know that I'm not the best person for everything. My job is to assemble that team for myself, for my own company, and for our clients, and then coach on how to get there. What's the next step? And I'm really good at that. That's probably my superpower, assembling teams to get stuff done that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
It's what I call 3 I's. You identify your value, then you internalize it, and then you inform the people who matter, which is communication. But 3 I's sounded a little bit better than 2 I's and a C, but it's really about the same ability to get to the so what and then really believe your so what.
So oftentimes I'm allowing people that space to consider the no maybe in there, or what is the true yes in there, and just, sit with them and be like, both are equally valid, right? Like not one is like good or bad. It's like, no, they're both equally valid. And I'm not going to put that distinction, in there, like something being good or being bad. It's just like, you have 2 choices. Where do you want to go?
I know it can happen. And so just like staying on that, like dreaming big thing. I mean, that's actually my quote on my like Notion tab, like where I organize all my stuff, is celebrate every win, no matter how small.
Thanks for listening to the GSD Factor podcast. If you liked this episode, please rate and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, where you can also find previous episodes. Let's also connect on LinkedIn and Instagram. If you're looking for more information on the GSD Factor, visit us at gsdfactor.com. And always remember to GSD, get shit done.